United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk called for an investigation into what he called Israel's indiscriminate bombing and shelling of densely populated areas in the Gaza Strip. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil received his Hungarian counterpart Peter Szijjártó as a part of his official visit to the South American country. In Portugal, President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa dissolved parliament and called an election for March the 10th after Prime Minister Antonio Costa resigned over a corruption investigation. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Israeli strike hit near several hospitals in northern Gaza early on Friday as health officials state tanks have surrounded medical facilities. Several hospitals are among the civilian infrastructure targeted in another night of heavy bombardment. Gaza authorities report that troops struck the Al-Shifa hospital's counterpart and the obstetrics department. This is Gaza's largest hospital, where many are taking shelter due to the relentless attacks and the fact that over 50% of the housing units have been damaged. Let's go over some of the key numbers that allow us to understand the current situation in Gaza. At least 11,078 Palestinians have been killed in Israel attacks on Gaza since October the 7th, including 4,506 children, while over 27,000 have been injured and over 2,700 remain missing. Israeli bombardment has damaged more than 50% of housing units across Gaza. Since the Israeli sides began, 270 attacks on healthcare facilities have been documented. Currently, 60% of the hospitals in the Gaza Strip are not functioning. Meanwhile, occupying forces carried out a massive incursion into several Palestinian territories in the West Bank and arrested more than 50 Palestinians on Friday morning. The kidnappings took place during a series of raids in cities, towns, villages, hamlets, and Palestinian refugee camps all over the occupied territory. According to human rights organizations, more than 2,500 hostages have been captured by Tel Aviv regime since October the 7th. In Israel, citizens rally against the arrest of 4 Arab leaders. The riot was in front of the police station in the Tel Aviv neighborhood where officers tried to disperse the protesters. On Thursday, 4 former Arab legislators were arrested in Nazareth for planning a rally that police said could incite violence and threaten public order.
We are here today to protest against the political arrests of the leaders of the Palestinian community in Israel and in general against the political arrests that have taken place since the beginning of the war. We are here because Israelis, Jews and Palestinians simply want to call for an end to the war, for a ceasefire, for peace and a shared future. Instead of we see these terrible political arrests, so we are here to protest against the police.
On Friday, United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk called for an investigation into what he called Israel's indiscriminate bombing and shelling of densely populated areas in the Gaza Strip. Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said Israel must end its use of such weapons in the densely populated area home to 2.3 million Palestinians, half of whom have been displaced by the fighting in the last month. Turk described the strike on and near hospital as being particularly intense.
The extensive Israeli bombardment of Gaza, including the use of high-impact explosive weapons in densely populated areas, razing tens of thousands of buildings to the ground, is clearly having a devastating humanitarian and human rights impact. After 4 weeks of bombardment and shelling by Israeli forces in Gaza, the indiscriminate effects of such weapons in a densely populated area is clear. Israel must immediately end the use of such methods and means of warfare, and the attacks must be investigated.
After another day of Israeli side, there are no safe places in the Gaza Strip, including hospitals, which has become the target of Israeli armed attacks. For more details, our correspondent Nur Harasen's reports.
Tonight, the Israeli forces specifically attacked hospitals here in Gaza. They first of all showered the Indonesian hospital, which is located in northern Gaza, with at least 11 strikes causing damage to the hospital, and also several injuries were reported as shrapnels were everywhere in the hospital. During the night, the Israeli forces and the Israeli tanks shelled on the Al-Shifa hospital, several strikes that targeted homes surrounding the Al-Shifa hospital, several missiles that landed in Al-Shifa hospital. At least one person was killed and several were injured. Also, white phosphor bombs. They used the white phosphor bombs in several areas around the Gaza Strip. At the same time, there's a block full of hospitals, at least 4 hospitals: RNTC Hospital, the Eye Hospital, and also Al-Nasser Children's Hospital. These hospitals are located in one block in Al-Nasser street, and now these people are trapped under the Israeli fire and chilling without any food or water. We're getting urgent calls from there. However, no ambulances, no ICRC, no UN can reach that area. This was one of the hardest nights of the people of Gaza, especially those who are taking shelter inside hospitals and inside the Al-Shifa hospital, which is now residing around 80,000 people who left their homes and came to take shelter in Al-Shifa hospital. Nur Harazin, teleSUR, Gaza.
Let's take a very first break, but remember, you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Hill received his Hungarian counterpart Peter Szijjártó as part of his official visit to the South American country. The Hungarian diplomat stressed the importance of this visit at a time when the world is dominated by the increasingly serious conflicts in international politics. Szijjártó also detailed that bilateral trade increased by 68% in 2022 due to the growing demand for Hungarian water purification equipment and medical technology in Venezuela. On Thursday, demonstrations against the mining contract in Panama continued throughout the country. Called by unions, social organizations, and the civil population in general in the Panamanian capital, the main mobilizations led from the Porras Park and marched to the presidency. At the same time, dozens of demonstrators in white gathered in the town of Santiago de Veraguas in western Panama, called by the influential Association of Education from Veraguas, who walked to the bridge in the Inter-American Highway in homage to the 2 teachers who were shot to death on Tuesday. And the leader of the construction union, Saul Mendez, represents a bill on behalf of the multi-sectoral alliance of the United People, which includes the repeal of the law that grants the concession to the multinational.
The document was delivered and was received by the minister who came to receive it, the Minister of Labor, Zapata and Royers, because the document said what we are going to say. What we are going to say is what we say here in the park and what we say in public. The government should call the assembly into extraordinary session and in 48 hours debate the bill that we have just presented to them and that Mr. Zapata received.
On Thursday, Portugal President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa dissolved Parliament and called an election for March the 10th after the Prime Minister Antonio Costa resigned over a corruption investigation. Costa Portugal socialist premier since 2015 quit on Tuesday after being embroiled in a corruption probe into energy-related contracts sparking a political crisis. The Sousa met ahead of the main political parties on Wednesday as he decides whether to ask a party leader to try to form a new government or to dissolve parliament.
People of Portugal, having been called upon to make a decision on the scenario created by the resignation of the government, due to the decision of the Prime Minister, I have chosen to dissolve the Assembly of the Republic and hold new elections on March the 10th, 2024. We must now look to the future and prepare to choose the people's representatives and the government that will emerge from the elections. A government that will seek to establish stability and economic, social and cultural progress while respecting freedom, pluralism and democracy.
On Friday in France, Ukraine peace activists gathered near the Eiffel Tower and inflated a giant activist protest against the presence of Norwegian Premier Jonas Gahr Store at the International One Planet Polar Summit. The One Planet Polar Summit is the first summit dedicated to glaciers and poles and will be held in Paris until November the 10th to bring together the international scientific community around the ecological crisis. In the meantime, environmental activists reject the Norwegian government's position that it is considered opening its waters to deep sea mining. On Friday, French President Emmanuel Macron attended the Paris Peace Forum for its 6th annual summit. Speaking at the panel during the event, Macron said that Paris Pact for the peoples of the world was designed to prevent nations having to choose between fighting against inequality and preserving the planet, its climate and biodiversity. He also points out that the path must be chosen sovereignly by each nation. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel where you'll be able to watch interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. We'll find out your break, don't go away. Welcome back. After his visit to Kazakhstan, Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in Rostov-on-Don, where he visited the headquarters of the Southern Military District, the closest to the Ukrainian territory. According to the official media, the president was briefing on the progress of the special military operation and got acquainted with new equipment. The president was accompanied by Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov, and other military commanders. The visit on Friday is the second visit of the Chief of State to the headquarters, and it was his second public visit to the headquarters in less than a month. On Friday, Premier of Hungary, Viktor Orban, stated all kinds of bad decisions are made by the EU leaders about Russia's conflict in Ukraine. The Prime Minister asserted that Brussels' leadership currently represents the interests of a global elite and not the people's, noting that Ukraine-Russia conflict is unsustainable and destroyer of Europe, so it must stop. Orban encouraged peace in Ukraine and strongly condemns the West for providing arms and economic assistance to Kiev.
The Ukraine-Russian conflict is unsustainable and a destroyer of Europe. It must stop. Therefore, Hungary didn't back arms shipment, and I don't support sending Hungarian taxpayers' money to Ukraine. We are ready to provide humanitarian aid in case any state needs it. We are a Christian country, but financing Ukraine for buying weapons, it would have very serious aftermath for Hungary, as triggering economic bankruptcy. I won't agree on this, and until we have a national government, this will not happen.
Kenya's President William Ruto on Thursday defended his economic measure aimed at reducing debt despite rejection from many sectors of the people over the removal of subsidies and series of new taxes. In his first stage of the nation address to Parliament after taking office, Ruto reiterated that a series of economic measures his government sets are necessary to put the country back on track. In the same, he also stated that Kenya has been living beyond its means, which he said has led to the nation into an avoidable debt hole.
As I told Kenyans on my first day in office, times were difficult and many people are struggling, and necessary and effective sustainable solutions were urgently needed. We must admit, honorable members, that as a country, we had been living large and way beyond our means. I can now confirm with confidence that we will and we shall pay the debt that has become a source of much concern to citizens, markets, and our...
The head of Madagascar lower house of Parliament, Christine Razanamathosa, called on Thursday for the suspension of next presidential elections following weeks of regular opposition rallies. The head of the lower house of Parliament, who leads the mediation groups trying to find a way out of the weeks-long political crisis, said that the current situation in the country does not allow for a free and credible vote on November the 16th. The mediating group strongly demands that the authorities suspend the planned presidential elections to ensure peace and harmony in the country, where political tensions have soared on the eve of the vote, which has already been postponed for a week. And the elusive Inchina that was further extended after the disappearance from 6 decades has been rediscovered in the remote areas of Indonesia. Saglasos Antemborigid Alana Violent Inchina, named after the famous British naturalist David Attenborough, was also seen in 1961. Inchinas are the nocturnal sunshine, making them difficult to find. It took a team of scientists and experts from Great Britain and Indonesia 4 weeks and 80 cameras trapped to find an Inchina. We have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share that our newscasts and contribute to provide alternative news sources for the latest world events. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also use us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, and from the south of Manamarrero, thank you for watching.